Welcome back to Benton Homestead. Today we're looking at someone else's project. A friend of ours has bought an Akiya in our neighborhood and she's going to turn it into a restaurant. She's doing some really cool renovations, so let's take a look inside. Let's start with the future dining room. So this space is still very much a work in progress, but you can see how much room she's got to work with. This is a natural insect repellent and wood preservative called Kakishibu. It's made from the juice of green persimmons, and she's using it to paint the ceiling boards. These have had 3 coats, and they should last a long time. And here's what the Kakishibu boards look like in place. And that narrow board you see running along the walls is where the old ceiling used to come down to, so she's taken that up and exposed these beautiful, massive beams. This is some brand new shikui plaster that's been done in the traditional style by a local craftsman. It's really hard to find guys who specialize in this type of work because it's not done very much anymore. And while she's doing a lot of the work herself, she hired someone to do this because it's so specialized and because it's so high up there. Now this shikui is all natural ingredients, including seaweed, so apparently it stinks for a few months after you apply it. But the idea is that in contrast to a synthetic wall covering, it's just going to get better and better over time as the ingredients sort of harden and coalesce. So that means it's going to absorb humidity and moisture and smells from the environment, and this is going to be a really nice place to sit and eat and drink for guests and customers. This whole wall behind me is displaying some built-in storage and display, which is very common in Japanese houses. Up here we have the kamidana, which is like an altar, and this is just some decorative storage, and to the right is what's called a tokonoma, which is where you would display your seasonal flowers and things. Again, this shows you where the old false ceiling was, and above this has all been exposed. This is more of the Kakishibu. Look at those beams. Look at the light coming in through this brand new window. They're turning the attic into a second floor for themselves to live in. And this window, they said, was built specifically for the cat to look over and people watch.
So it's a little hard to catch on camera because they've got the tarps up because it is a construction zone, but all of this will be one big dining room. It's going to be a really beautiful space, even though clearly it's under construction right now, but you can imagine what this will be like when it's all open up. She's going to have seating tables in here. So all of these rooms will be for dining. You'll have the natural light, these high ceilings, and she said she'll also have some low seating tables out here by the window. So this is just going to be a really beautiful, beautiful dining space. Can't wait to see it when it's done.
Beautiful old tansu that's going to be used over here to block the view of the new stairway. Putting it to work. We're not sure how old this piece is, but this house is 73 years old and the house next door is 93, so it's probably around that age. It's common in Japan for you to have 2 houses built right next to each other, owned by the same family.
One really nice change that they've made here is to make these stairs more usable. Originally the stairs were so steep that they ended where that platform was. You can imagine how steep those stairs must have been. So the carpenter here made these stairs much more user-friendly.
This is the current front of the construction, so we're not going to spend too much time here, but this, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be remodeled into a living space for her and her husband.
And cat. They've exposed all these beautiful beams. And this was an unused space of the house previously, but there's enough room here for them to turn it into a living space. So cool.
To give you an idea of the type of pride the carpenter puts into his work, he's got a plane engraved with his name, and it was actually a gift to him from his father, who is also a skilled carpenter.
Here's a bit of a close-up look at the beams up here. These are again in their living space that they turned a previously unused attic space into what will be their bedroom. You can see the unfinished back side of the wall over there. The beams running along the space here. And this is the last little bit of their new ceiling wood that's about to be finished. Here's the other side of the window that we showed you earlier. So this is where the kitty will be watching the customers below. So this is made with rice straw and mud with a bamboo cord.
And this was open all the way into the next room, since this whole space was just above the false ceiling. So look how he's built this wall and framed it in. And the owner is going to finish this off with the traditional shikui when she gets around to it.
So this is in what will be the future storeroom, but she wanted us to show you this so you can see what the bamboo bones inside the walls look like. So this is the same rice straw and mud wall, these sort of unfinished walls that would be in a room that was not used for a living space necessarily. So you can see how the walls are constructed. So this room is a little hard to film, but they just finished it the other day.
It took 4 professionals to get this all done. One to do the tile, one to do the bath, one to do the carpentry, and I understand the electrical isn't quite done yet.
It's popular in Japan nowadays to do what's called a unit bath, which is just like a one-piece install where the floor, walls, and ceiling are all made of like a pre-molded plastic. And obviously this takes a lot more care and time.
But one of the big problems was getting that in through the window here. Would have been impossible. They actually fitted the bathtub in through that window, if you can believe it. But she also just wanted it to look nicer, which is a mission accomplished. One really cool thing is that the carpenter hand selected each of the boards for these walls and the ceiling and put them up one by one to make sure they had the perfect grain. Just a sneak peek at the kitchen here to get you an idea of what she's got planned. This is a crepe maker. She plans to make buckwheat crepes or galettes. And this is pretty cool. She's in the middle of seasoning this, it's not a real donabe. What'd you say it was called? It's a ceramic pot. And so she's seasoning it like a Japanese donabe, and to do that, she's heated up some rice porridge or kayu, and she's just going to boil that so that the rice granules seep into the pores and seal it, so it can be used for cooking. Little product placement for you. I have it on good authority that this goes great with said rice porridge. We got to talking about food and it got a little in-depth, so we'll probably be making a whole video just on what she plans to do here later. But there's a lot to look forward to that we're excited about. She had a ramen restaurant on the island, and she had a pet cafe in Chiba, and she also studied at Koyasan Buddhist temple, studying Shojin Ryori, which is a vegan style of cuisine that's native to Japan. So there's a lot going on here. She's cooked for us a few times and it's been great, so we'll keep you filled in on that. This restaurant is actually going to be one of the closest to our guest house. It's a short walk, and we're looking forward to sending guests here and probably joining them as well.
So if you're wondering why the owner of the home and restaurant didn't want to be in this video yet, she wanted it sort of to be a surprise. So her and I have discussed doing a series of videos as she goes through the renovation and starts her restaurant. And she is very excited to be a part of the videos in the future. And so since this is still very much under construction, we'll have a lot more to show you in the future. And then of course we'll show you the restaurant once it opens. So her place up here is basically at the edge of the village, at the very top of the hill. It's got a beautiful view, and she plans to turn this into a dog run, as well as do some farming, and she actually has some Japanese bees as well. It's a really beautiful view up here. You can see the Seto Sea in the background. Evie's getting an up-close look at her Japanese bee colony. Pretty cool to have beekeeping friends and neighbors.
Okay, well that's just a little look at this amazing remodeling project, and we'll keep you informed as the work continues. And I should mention that I met this neighbor pretty serendipitously as I was just doing some weed whacking for another friend of ours up the street, and she said, "Hey, you parked in my driveway," but that's okay. So we're always happy to meet new friends, and this is an especially good connection for us to have. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Thanks very much to our neighbor, and join us next time on Benton Homestead.
Alright guys, we're not done quite yet. I realized since our video took place in the middle of her renovation, I thought that we should show you some of our neighbor's house photos from before. So let's go through a few photos from the Shimanami property website listing, which is where she purchased the house. Shimanami Property is our local realtor and the realtor who helped Evan and I purchase our 2 Akiya abandoned houses, and he helped our neighbor as well as many other people on the island. He's a wonderful realtor, highly recommended, and just an all-around great guy. And just a teeny tiny plug before we get started, Evan and I are doing consulting with Shimanami Property to help his foreign English-speaking buyers. So if you are looking at the Shimanami Kaido area, we are helping with some translation assistance, house viewings, and we do video tours of properties if you're purchasing from outside of the country. You can read more about our consulting services at the link below to our website, bentonhomestead.com/consulting, but let's get right into these beautiful photos. Let's start here with a few outside photos of our neighbor's property. She's got a really great location. She is at the top of the hill and pretty much the last house before her village turns into forest. It seems to be the perfect place for her and her vision, which is to really sort of have like a community hub. So it's going to be a restaurant inside, possibly outside dining, barbecue as well. And she's really focused on the music and entertainment and making it more than just a meal, but an experience. And as you can see, being so high up on the hill, she's got a great view of the Seto Sea in the background and a great breeze for those hot summer days and nights. I will admit that it wasn't until about halfway through the tour when she showed me this photo that I realized that her house was one that I recognized from the Shimanami property listings. I remember this photo in particular because look at those stairs. So these are the original stairs leading up to the attic space there. Now in the video, there's blue tarp where those doors are, but they've removed this sideways staircase and the wall behind it in order to build a much more functional staircase access to the upstairs. Isn't that cool though? And this picture in particular, I was just blown away when I saw this on the Shimanami property Instagram because so many details in this house are very, very similar to the construction of our guest house. So I'm really curious if there's any way that she and I can find out if we have the same house builders, because even just that little step down there where you put the shoes to step up to the tatami rooms, that is identical to the one in our guest house. The ceiling in her doma room here is identical to the ceiling in the office of our guest house. And I know that a lot of the Japanese construction looks the same. It's very classical. They all sort of carry the same theme, construction style, but certain elements of this house are just absolutely identical, and they were only built a few years apart. So I'm just very curious if there's any way we can find out if we had the same builders. That would be such a cool connection. These next 2 photos are the rooms that also had the blue tarps. This is the space that's going to be used for guest dining. So the green walled room in the background is the one that has that beautiful new textured shikui plaster. She's really done some amazing work to open this space up. You're not going to believe what it already looks like. It's so much more improved, and she's hoping to open her restaurant soon. Here's another view of the guest dining space here. Pretty fantastic. Open all this up. You can see the lower ceilings on that room there in the back right. That's another one of the rooms that has all been lifted up to expose those beautiful high ceilings and beams. Here is a before picture, or rather an in-progress picture of her bathroom. Can you believe how far it's come to those wooden walls, black tiles, and that beautiful tub? Although I do have a soft spot for the pink tiles, I think that she made the right choice. The new bathroom looks absolutely beautiful. And now we've got a few photos of the upstairs so you can see what the former attic space looked like before they started any renovations. You can see it was a pretty much unfinished room. Here's another view with the contractors there. The ceiling now, of course, has those beautiful wood planks, and the walls are in the process of being finished. Here's another view of the whole space open. It looks like this is while they were rebuilding the upstairs floor space and building that staircase. And lastly, I just have two most recent photos. I walked back up to her house and took some photos to make the thumbnail for this video from, and she had made even more progress. So here's a beautiful view of this room with the ceiling and the beams all exposed. And here is a photo of the dining rooms after the tarps have been taken down and her new tatami has gone in. So this is an exciting project. She's really looking forward to being a part of some videos in the future, and we want to use her and her renovation as the starting point for a series of community spotlight videos. Of course, when you're living in a rural community and running a business in Japan, it's super important to be a part of that community, and part of that is community building, working with each other. And one of my favorite silly buzzwords is co-opetition. So we have a lot of opportunity to cooperate with others that could otherwise be seen as competition, but when we work together, everyone's business does better. So we're really looking forward to connecting not only with this neighbor, but with other people doing renovations in the neighborhood. There's a lot going on Ōmishima Island specifically. Of course, this is the one that we live on, so it's the one we're paying the most attention to. But being one of the center islands on the Shimanami Kaido bicycle trip, we get a lot of tourists stopping here for one night or 2 nights to sort of spread their trip out a little bit longer. And it really seems like there's a lot of wonderful new restaurants and businesses and activity on Ōmishima Island. So it's an exciting time to be here, and we've been so welcomed by the community that we're really excited to, hopefully this fall and winter, be at a position where we have a little bit of time to breathe, and we can finally start making some of these community videos that we've wanted to be doing since day one. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next video.